One of my favorite memories of you, I guess, I can't even, it's hard to even share it, but I was looking out my window, because remember I said when I bought the property in Santa Barbara, I said, come visit me at any time, whether I'm there or not. You're the only person that took me up on it.
Seriously?
You're the only person.
Okay.
Okay.
I got one bag permanently packed, ready.
One morning I look out my kitchen window.
There's an
and I
intruder.
Say, who is that person running in a loop around the property?
Around my house.
It was you.
And I'm like, oh, hey!
I always feel like every time I see you, like it is a reunion of my baby girl. I feel that way about you and Kimberly.
And the
yes.
fact that it's been 2 decades since you birthed us in Beloved, it feels like.
Yes.
That's a bit graphic.
Yes.
But since those days, 2 decades. But
It
it's a
doesn't
real
feel
testament.
that long though, does it?
It's a testament to how much we all bonded.
Yes.
Because whenever I see you, it's like no time has passed.
And also, it's like you don't age. I don't know how old you were then.
I got old innards, darling.
And I don't know how old you are now.
I got old innards.
Oh gosh, you look exactly.
It's all been pinned up behind the back of my neck. It's all back there. It's like another face back there.
What excites
Should
me?
I take that compliment?
You should take
Shall
that.
I this time?
Take
Because it's
it.
you.
Yes.
Oh,
This is
darling.
it. This is it. To see you on Westworld, having risen to this.
Didn't that come from nowhere?
I want to know. First of all, it took me like I needed to be coded to figure out what was happening, and
You hung in there.
I hung in there. But this is the thing. I kept thinking when you got the script for Westworld. The very first script was the first script a pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't really about the script, you know. It was about human trust.
Did somebody explain to you ahead of time what was happening?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Well, first of all, Jonah Nolan is one of the masterminds behind Chris Nolan's movies, the Black Knight films, Inception, Memento, and I love all of that, sort of the mental gymnastics that go on behind that. He's basically a super geek when it comes to anything futuristic. And he was doing this show with his wife, he's the most evolved feminist I know. To hear a man who is a true supporter of the empowerment of women, it just feels like you could just go to sleep and everything's going to be fine.
Yes, it feels
soothing
great to your soul.
Yeah,
yes.
and so of course, they were more nervous about talking to me than I was to them, because all I'd heard was that Madam of a Saloon, number one, numero uno, a lot of nudity. And I just thought, well, obviously, Madam of a Saloon, the nudity must be sexual. So right there, I'm like, we'll talk, but that'll be the end of that. But they made me see, and I think anyone who's seen the show, you realize, is that in order to truly understand the subjugation, the oppression, the dehumanization of these robots, they had to be naked. And the nudity is about disempowerment. It's about being treated like, it's like we're pieces of meat in an abattoir.
Yes.
And if it is sexual, it's demoralizing, it's sexual abuse.
Yes.
Because, you know, in that environment, they're also dehumanized. They are literally, their brains are switched off. I mean, how vulnerable can you be to have you know what it's like, Oprah? It's like a woman being drugged. A woman being drugged and raped. That's what they were going for. They were going for nudity as
I'm here but not here.
Yes,
I'm here but not
vulnerable.
here.
Do to me what you will.
What you will.
And wouldn't it be great if we could all believe that we could be part of a humanity where what you will is going to be kind, compassionate, and...
Well, how does one prepare oneself for that? I mean, that scene I think at the beginning of episode 6, where the newcomer comes in and he rapes her, and you're like, you become disembodied or certainly not there. I mean, where are you in your actress mind to do that?
I think I was more in my activist mind. It was activism and acting combined. And I did feel like that about Westworld, that I felt that the setup, the premise that these robots are a metaphor for the oppressed of mankind. And I just felt that it was so well choreographed, the storylines were so well drawn that you're taken in and you love these characters and you want to fight for them and you become invested.
It's a bit frightening for me though, you know why? Because I think if a writer can conceive of this, it means it is possible.
Yeah.
And not in the not too distant future, you will have theme parks, amusement parks, where people come to live their limitless selves and get to do crazy stuff.
Well, here's the thing. What happens in Westworld stays in Westworld. So people don't have to imagine the consequences of their actions. Now, I think that happens now. Because if you think about the fact that the robots aren't told that they're robots.
Right.
They think they're free.
Yes.
That's happening in the world right now, where people are, as an actress, for example, I'm told that this is my role, that I am the most important element, and then I discover that, you know, the director shows the tape of me, you know, in the screen test to guys at parties. So what I mean is, we think we're being told the truth, and in so many situations we're being lied to.
Did that happen?
Look now. Yes, it did happen.
It did happen.
It did happen.
Yeah.
But look now. Look about, you know, political parties. Look at phone tapping.
Were you furious when...
Phone tapping.
Yes,
is Russia
all of it.
doing this? Is Russia doing that? You know, we think we're being told the truth. And when we dig deeper, we discover that we're not. That's what's happening with these robots, particularly with Maeve. She, during the story, comes to realize she's being lied to, and you see her boot up.
You think I'm scared of death? I've done it 1,000,000 times. I'm great at it. How many times have you died?
Okay, so did you say yes immediately after it was explained to you?
Yes, I did.
You said, wow, this is going to be some kind of ride.
I just thought, you know, this was me. I'm 43, just had a baby. This is probably the last time I'm going to be able to work.
So you were 23.
I'm going to go out with a bang.
You're going to go out with a bang. I never knew how old you were when we did Beloved. So you were 23.
Yeah.
Wow.
23, 24.
23.
Because I was just about to get married.
Oh,
Remember,
Mama.
me and Ol got married. And you got us a bed for our wedding
Do you still have the bed?
We still sleep in that bed. Every member of our family. Every child has slept in that bed.
Oh.
That bed's like
That was a good gift. That's a gift that kept giving.
It's a big hug.
It's a big
now,
hug.
I want to talk about something. Now, I was thinking, because the first time I ever saw you was in Colour Purple.
Oh.
And I remember thinking, who is that actress? What is going on? What is this movie, Steven Spielberg? Like, what is going on? And it did not flinch from the dark side. And here you were, this woman from not your, you know, typical movie star, American. This redefined for me American.
Really?
Oh yeah, and that was you. And so then when I came to know you as a TV personality, you know, huge, it was like there was this secret tucked away of who you really could be. And I thought,
well, you know, I'd always wanted to be an actress. I never wanted anything in my life more than I wanted to be in The Color Purple.
Oh, really?
And have never allowed myself to want anything as much
again, love.
Yes, because that was a deep thing. That book. The first time I read that book, I went and got 8 more copies to give to everybody else I knew to read that book. This is long before I even had an idea of a book club or what that could mean.
How can one imagine, how can one promote oneself to, oh yeah, I want to be in that movie? I mean,
Yes.
that is...
Yes, I mean, I went around telling everybody in the world, I want to be in that movie. I'll be, I'll carry water for Steven Spielberg.
I'm worth it.
I'll hold his script.
I'll
do
not
anything.
just that though, I am worth it.
Yes, but I didn't feel that I was. You know, by the time I actually auditioned for it, it was like, I know there is a God because I literally call that in.
Do you feel like it was slightly out of time and body for you? Like that was a thing in itself that had its own sacred place, and then you got on with real life?
Yes, I exactly do. Yeah. How did you come up with that? That's a really good question.
I just know you.
Yeah, okay.
Like, how can you tuck that secret in your back pocket and then carry on and have a whole new career?
Yes, because do you know that in the middle of filming The Color Purple, and I remember walking around saying to Steven Spielberg, to Alice Walker, to Quincy Jones, who were producers,
goodness.
you know, I'm going to do this talk show. I'm going to do this
talk show. Yeah.
And they were saying, what is it? Radio? What are you doing? So I literally, after the scene in town where she punches the mayor's wife, I had to take off my coat, go to Chicago, sign the deal for syndication. I was like, Steven, can I please get off because I have this deal, I have this whole thing I'm supposed to do in a press conference.
I'll do her that little favor.
Yes, I'll let her have that little. What is it for?
Get her nails did. She's just getting off to having her nails did.
I said, it's for a syndicated talk show that I'm doing. What's it about? I go, it's kind of like Phil Donahue, but only it's going to be me. And anyway, so that was another life. First, you got to tell everybody her name wasn't no Helen Lane or whatever they sometimes say. And second, everybody talk about Henrietta Lacks got 4 kids. That ain't right. She got 5.
The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. What a movie. What a cast.
Well, thank you.
You were
it's George Wolfe.
George Wolfe.
I did that because I wanted to work with George Wolfe. George Wolfe and I.
He's such an interesting man with his fingers.
Yes. Oh. His fingers. All
Wish
of
he
his
was here
motions.
now, you could see the fingers.
Yes.
But I was thinking, as an actor, we have challenges. You know, you've got a whole crew around you. As an audience, you don't see that there are hundreds of people standing there. We have to find a place of stillness. We also have to elevate ourselves or place ourselves, you know, into wherever the character needs to be. And it helps if people don't know much about you. I like it when I see an actor who I don't know how many kids they've got.
Right.
I don't know what they like to have before they work out.
Yes.
You know, I love not knowing, just like I love not knowing a storyline when I watch. We know you. We have seen you. You have let yourself be seen, makeup on, makeup off, shoes on, shoes off, in your most private place, in your most top of the mountain place. And yet you challenge yourself to step into someone else's shoes. Ooh. And I just think, my love, that is what makes you as an actress mighty.
Ooh.
I mean it. Because I watched you in Immortal Life and I'm like, there she is with her red tennis shoes on. What is she wearing? I believe what she's wearing. And you're not there. Your voice, the timbre of your voice, the rhythms. Well, I mean, you just disappeared. Well, you and George must have had some magic going on.
Well, I had wanted to work for George for a long time and had wanted to do it on Broadway and was trying to find the right vehicle.
That's
and actually read with Audra McDonald for Night Shift. And Night Shift was fantastic and we were great and we're just sitting around the table and, you know, we made ourselves cry and the people watching cry. And then I had several of my girls, you know, I have 20 girls in school.
Yes,
I had
of course. I met them.
3, oh, that's right, you came to school. And I'm just saying this for the benefit of the audience.
For the benefit
I have
of the
20 girls in college
Fabulous
from
girls.
South Africa. 3 were going through severe depression at the same time that I was reading and preparing for Night Shift. And I thought I could not go on stage every night and
you just don't know when you're going to be needed.
Call that in. I couldn't, you know, because it's about a daughter committing suicide. Yes. So I did not want to call the energy of that in every night on a stage.
It would be there anyway, maybe.
Yes, and that I was already dealing with. And so I let that go and really was just searching for something to work with George. George was able to take the Henrietta Lacks script, which several other people had attempted to, and find the way in. It's a tough story because you've got the science.
It's a whole universe of scientific importance.
Yes, and cells. So, and cells. And so he was a way to find a way in with the story of a daughter's search for the identity of her mother, which is what it became for me. And what I learned so much about, don't you learn so much about yourself when you're doing, stepping into this?
Because you get rid of yourself.
Because you get rid of yourself.
What you think you are. And you're just left with empty sack O, who's going to try and bring this character, and you realize that empty sack is really pretty special.
Yes. And I also
and it's
realized
huge, and it's capable of carrying a lot.
And I also realized for myself, particularly for this role, which I would say of everything, when I was actually just finished doing Wrinkle in Time, and I remember asking Reese, how many movies have you done? And she said, oh, hundreds. And I was thinking, I think I've done 5. I was thinking, well, I hope she never asks me how many have I done, because my number is like 5. And I always feel a bit intimidated stepping into.
I think we have to.
Yes.
I think the moment you stop being in awe of what you do, you need to stop and do something else.
So intimidated, where you're literally taking on the life.
It's terrifying.
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
It's terrifying. And not only, I mean, for playing someone like Maeve in Westworld, I've got nobody, there's no family going to call me up.
Yes.
You are representing.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you're always representing.
But I actually had a meeting with the family before and said to them, I am here to try to embody the spirit.
Yeah, like a host.
An essence of what your mother represented.
Trying to divine.
Yes, I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to pull that thread of energy into myself, use myself to do that.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to be happy with that, because I'm not going to get every nuance, everything she said, the way you remember her saying it. I said to them at a luncheon. And so just know that, that I'm trying.
But what's so magical about the story is that through this story of a family, but also through what her cells came to mean.
To all of us, that nobody has had
She is the universal mother. She is. She is all of mankind, not even defined by woman.
I will be
She's
using
defined
that.
by self. Go ahead.
That is
you
so
earn
good.
it. But it's true. And what I find so incredibly powerful and important about the film in today's world is that there is no difference between her and any of the people that she could help.
Correct.
In fact, we all owe a debt of gratitude to someone like her.
To her.
Scientists recognized that she was universal human.
Yes, universal.
Science didn't think,
Now
but she's a
black
girl, so she can't be, her cells can't be mixing up. Yes, they can.
Yes, and her cells have been a part of every major medical discovery.
No matter what strata from society.
Yes.
No matter where
that's
you're
why the
from,
story is so
no matter
important.
what country you're from.
Yes, that's why the story is so important.
These cells have been FedExed out to every scientist
and
every
sold,
ton of
and sold. Yes, and sold.
I mean, because that's the thing. It becomes kind of caught up on the financial side of things, but the real service and the real wealth is so much bigger than that.
Yes. One day she got a mother, and the next day she didn't. Ain't nobody even tell her why. It's all right. What do you think about this moment in time? For example, I have a network where we created this series last year called Greenleaf about an African-American mega church in the South. And at the time I started thinking about this idea with Craig Wright, who was the main creator and writer for the series. And at the same time, I started talking to Ava DuVernay about creating Queen Sugar. And I wanted this idea of taking our stories, African-American stories, putting them on screen in a way that people could see themselves. All right. At the time, we had Empire, and Scandal, and of course, Shonda's Night on Thursday nights. I looked at the ratings sheet printout the other night, and there is Quad, there is Shots Fired, there is Blackish, there is Empire, there is on any given night, there are 5 shows that are featuring stories about African Americans.
Yeah.
And then there is you in Westworld. I mean, you turn on everywhere and there are opportunities now.
Yes, there are, because you know what they're about? They're not about people of color, they're about people.
They're about people.
Because you watch a movie, you watch Westworld, I don't care whether you're a girl or a boy, I mean, not children, for goodness sake. Whether you're a man or a woman, no matter where you're from, whether you're from Brazil or from Barbados, you get Maeve. You get her. because she's a human being, like Henrietta Lacks.
Yes.
And her cells.
You get it.
I think what we're starting to realize is that
we're stepping up to...
there is an intersectionality
yes.
which allows us to appreciate stories no matter where they are from.
That's
and
right.
the reason we love it and we feel a charge when we stay sitting and watching stories that might be about people that we think we're not like is because it's taught us something. It's taught us that we are all connected.
That's right. And you know what? The only way...
And it makes us feel reassured and
the only reason
hopeful.
you continue to watch anything is because there is a thread.
Yes, that goes from you to there.
That goes from you
and
to
back
there.
again.
And back again. There's a
Thank
thread
you.
of resonation and connection.
You. There
and
you
so
go.
we have
You
now...
don't have to try and do something different. Just
That's
be
right.
true to you and the stories that you want to tell.
Yes.
And they will be significant, especially your stories.
Well, what about that moment when Maeve discovers that she is not human and she thought she was? What about that moment?
Oh, it was really... And then there's another moment later where she's told, everything you've been doing to escape was pre-programmed.
Oh, yes, the pre-programming.
I
and then
felt
she's actually
a
holding...
rage.
You felt a rage.
A rage. And that's what I was talking about earlier, about when we think we've been told the truth, but we haven't. I think that is the key to business in many ways, isn't it? I was thinking today that the key to society and to a world turning is where we give unconditionally. And as soon as we give, expecting something in return, which let's call it business, that's when it can get really tricky, because lies take place and then we're screwed.
That's right.
But I think unconditional giving. And so how can you do that if you're being lied to? You stop trusting, you stop believing.
But it also was a pivotal moment because it actually...
It defined her humanness,
I was going to say,
too.
Contributed to the evolvement of her as a character.
Fending for self.
Yes, yeah.
Fending for self, but also freedom. That's being human, isn't it? The freedom to determine what we do from one moment to the next.
Did this role fill something else for you? Did it fill?
Oh, yeah.
Did it
was
solidify?
liberation.
Okay, good.
You know what it felt like? It felt like having that fourth baby, because it was a moment of such intense self-affirmation. Not for me, Thandie, but female power. I hadn't felt like that before. And it's ironic that I was standing there stark naked for a lot of it, because I felt more in control than I've ever done, because I said yes to this. I said, yes, I will stand here with nothing on and I will speak these words. Yes, I will. I was so committed to this character's trajectory. I felt that it had secrets to how we need to survive as a humanity, which is to fight for the truth.
She was never my daughter. Any more than I was. Whoever they made me.
Did something happen or before, during, or after you took on this role?
Three-part question.
Okay. Did something happen before, during, or after you took on the role to your own sense of sensuality, sexuality, womanness? Did you step into it in a different kind
Oh,
of?
that's a tricky one.
Come on. Because first of all, you have to be there to be able to sit there naked and not feel...
Well, here's the thing. My body was definitely my son's instrument for survival at the time of Westworld, which I think is actually really appropriate. I was breastfeeding my son. I started the show when he was 5 months old. I still had my crepey belly, you know, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stand naked and just do this thing. And I hadn't been to the gym. And for me, it wasn't about looking a certain way. It was about having the courage to stand there naked and do this stuff.
The first time you did it, what were you?
Well, you know what?
Anxious.
The show, no, because the showrunner and the director had the crew in such a state of respect and compassion and just
They were there for you.
everyone was so there for me.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't all get buck naked themselves just to make me feel better. But every time the camera stopped rolling, he would say, stop, let's get Thandie a robe. I hadn't been treated like that. I was being treated like a human being every day, ironically, and not just like, you know, just a blow-up doll.
Where is it?
Where's what?
The book.
What?
You said you turned it in, so where is the book?
There's no book yet.
Where is the book? I said, where is the book? Is it for sale already out there and you're making money off of my family like everybody else? Where is the book?
When I was experiencing the immortal life of Henrietta Lacks, there was something that it was just curious as an actress. You've got a whole different, the tempo of the way you speak.
Yeah.
Your gait, but no, the tempo.
Yes.
It's like, it made me think of this character as being afraid of her own shadow.
Yeah, she was in many ways, I think.
She was afraid of her own shadow, just moving constantly. I mean, there are elements of, you know, and she has to clean everything.
Manic mania.
And how did you get into that space when you were
Well, I have to say,
playing her?
I had the great advantage of Rebecca Skloot, the original author of The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. She has hours and hours of tapes from her interviews with her.
Oh, that's so great.
Deborah's real voice is way up here. She's very high pitched.
Right.
And I had gone to a voice coach, and the voice coach said, "You're going to ruin your vocal cords. And you also won't be able to stand in the truth of her. It's going to feel like an imitation.
Yes.
So find your way with it.
Honor it without it just destroying you.
It was more about her pacing, gait, and energy.
It worked. She's running from her own shadow.
Yes.
Oh.
It was more about that than it was, which forced the pitch. But I knew that if I tried to get the pitch, I would feel like I was imitating her and not actually trying to embody the essence of what she was. So, a most challenging role for me for a number of reasons. Her rage, her anger, her dissatisfaction with life, all of that, which is normally fun to play.
She hadn't fixed it.
Yes.
She was not purely,
No.
you know, she didn't have the money, didn't have the time, didn't have even the
And was in search.
The insight.
Yes, and it was a seeker, was a seeker.
And so you having to put aside all your own remedies for her issues because she was someone who was...
Yes, and you know, I've healed so much of my own issues with abuse and rage. So in that scene...
Trying to remember all of those.
Yes. I'm so at peace with my own self and my life.
That's what was so surprising, seeing you going into this place.
I have to use other people's rage and anger.
Yeah.
So I literally called up one of my daughters who had been experiencing some terrible depression and had also was experiencing that depression and anxiety because she was raised by a really abusive aunt. And so I used her stories and engaged with her on those stories. I could find rage
on
for
behalf
her,
of
on behalf of
someone
her.
you love
On behalf of someone you
unconditionally.
love. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how that happened.
Yeah.
That's how that happened.
That's amazing.
But I have to say that the opportunity to share a story like The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks really is fulfilling to me, not just as an actress, but because when I first read the book, I couldn't believe that I'd never heard of Henrietta Lacks. I lived and worked as a reporter in Baltimore for 8 solid years. I was on the streets where she walked, where her family lived. I'd been to Johns Hopkins, done stories. I was in that town. I was a part of that
And
community.
You hadn't heard of the
and
Gila Empire.
Had never once heard her name.
Of course not. Well, it wasn't designed for us to know.
Correct.
You know.
So to have the
That
opportunity
reporter,
to know.
I mean, Rebecca really is
I
freedom
say,
fighter.
That's right. And so
Because it is important to know. Even if nothing happens, it's important to
and
to
her
just
tenacity
accept.
and determination, she stuck with it, man. I mean, even though she was amidst a lot of people who obviously didn't want her to do it, the family members didn't want her to do it. So every time I get a chance to say bravo to her, I do, because I think there wouldn't have been a story had she not.
And it's not just a journalist after the story.
That's
you know.
right.
It seemed that, well, just the fact that she had let Helen Lane, that things had been obscured, makes you realize that it was important enough to be
And she
revealed.
became sort of a balm, a salve for Deborah, because Deborah, and a companion seeker, because Deborah, the character that I play, had been so frustrated by her families not wanting to really know in the same way that she wanted to
Yes.
know about who her mother was.
Yes.
But for her, it was literally
There was
life
so
and death.
much.
It was about if
and
I can
losing
find
her
it.
own sister like that.
That's right.
There was so much. There were so many holes to who she was.
Yes.
She didn't
yes,
trust
yes.
herself, didn't love herself enough, and she thought this would fill the void.
Yes. And I come away from a role like that so much more appreciative of not only Henrietta's contribution, but I think every role that I play also brings me back to a great appreciation of the real life that I have. Do you find that for yourself too?
Oh, certainly with Westworld, yeah.
I mean, really?
But also there's something really exciting about a role, which this is how I felt after Westworld. I felt changed. I felt like I'd gone on a journey and I'd really claimed something for myself. I'd claimed my space in the world. Yeah,
Wow.
I did. I felt that if I never did anything else.
Through Maeve?
Yes, oh yes. Especially vocalizing a lot of, and also there's no question with her. She's so deliberate. And I love that, and I want to be more like that.
Yes. I love the line where she says, because I'm at this place, I'm at the Maeve place.
Yeah.
Remember the line where she says, I don't do anything I don't want to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't do anything I don't want to. Who can honestly say that?
Yeah.
Who can say that?
Yeah, I'm practically there.
You're nearly there.
I'm practically there.
And then you'll save not doing things is for the characters.
Yes.
You better get yourself ready, because this story is crazy enough for 3 books.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Bet you didn't know my mother's sister converted herself to Puerto Rican. And that state hospital, the hospital for crazy Negroes, they used to call it. We are not skipping over that part.
Do you find that you wait for a role to, I know this isn't true, you discover the stories that you want to make? I mean,
Yes,
you
because I'm at the
read-
Maeve place.
You're at the Maeve place. You don't do anything you
I'm
don't
at that
want to
place
do.
where Maeve says, I don't do anything.
Well,
I
here's
don't
the
want
thing. Here's the thing. It's painful to act. Let's be honest. It's painful. You find something inside you and you have to birth it. You know, it's labor pains. So the big deep breath you have to take before you take on a role, before you get the director on board, all these things, it's got to be worth it. How do you know when a role is worth it?
When I feel that at the end of the film or work, the character would have had something to say that would have left you with enough meaning and import that it was worthy of your time.
So you go into it with hope. Because you can never know if it's going to have that effect.
You
Let's
don't.
face it.
But I know if it does it for me, this is what I know. This is my formula.
Yeah.
If I feel something, and
It's
I used to
worth it.
use this formula all the time in the Oprah show. I used to use this formula for choosing books for the book club. If I can read the book and I am moved by that story, I know I can get at least 1 million other people to be interested in that story. So I know that there's a commonality in the human experience.
There is, and it doesn't have to happen overnight.
And it doesn't
And
have
this
to
is
happen
something I think
overnight.
that we both, you and I, learnt from Beloved.
Oh my Lord, did we learn a
Because
lot from Beloved?
we felt that story in the core of our beings. We
Yes.
gave every ounce and more
Yes.
to playing those. And we really thought this was a game changer, not for ourselves, but for the
It was
world.
before its time.
It was before its time. Like
before
when I
its
saw
time.
12 Years a Slave, as much as I was so thrilled that it had a place on.
It was before its time.
I grieved for Beloved.
Oh.
But you know what? I just don't think that time is as linear as we think it is. Like a great book, I don't think that Charles Dickens knew that in 2018 my
We'd
son
still be talking
would,
about it.
Yes, or
Absolutely.
that there'd be a new reader and that it would mean so much, the whole universe affected by a book. I think film is the same.
But also Beloved helped me in so many ways. First, I was really depressed afterward.
Yes.
Because
you were
I
in
was-
bed for like 2 weeks.
I was.
And you were in
I was
bed
in
for-
bed, but I had to go to work, so I had to. I
Yes.
go to work, and then
You were in bed in your heart.
No, I ate a bowl of macaroni and cheese on the morning of. Did I ever tell you the story?
No.
On the morning of, so premiered on a Friday night. I think it was October 16th, and by the 17th, the next day, they were like, well, the box office opening, which I wasn't aware of any of that.
I know,
was
like it matters
they were
so
like, we got
much.
beat by Chucky Bride of Chucky or Chucky. I don't know who
Bride
Chucky
of
was.
Chucky macaroni cheese.
So I said to
a whole
my
world.
chef at the time, would you make me some macaroni and cheese for breakfast? And so I sort of ate my way through it for a period of time. But when I came out of it, this is what I learned. Do not ever do any work that you don't love enough to also release.
Absolutely.
I look at everything.
Every day release it.
Every day release it. Every piece of work I have done since, I love it, I release it.
Yeah.
And however it is received,
be gracious.
I'm okay with that. I'm
Really okay
with that.
Be gracious with how it's received.
Yes.
It's a tough needle to thread because obviously we do interviews. We hope so much people will watch the work because otherwise, what's the point?
Yes.
You know, you can't act in a vacuum. I mean, you can, but that's called crazy.
That's called crazy. You might as well stay at home.
Do it in your
own closet.
With your soliloquies.
Yes.
You know.
So
Star
when you got
Wars.
the call.
I got the call.
You got the call.
I did.
Is that the call that you wait for?
Well, listen, my 16-year-old daughter, for the first time ever, wanted to tell her friends what I was doing.
You got the call for Star Wars. How did it come? Who made the call?
Oh my goodness. You've
got to remember exactly where you were. Where were you when you got the call for Star Wars?
I was at home, and one of my dear friends is a casting director, Nina Gold, who is the casting director for Star Wars. She has never cast me in anything. I've known her for 20-something years. And it just so happens that she's never cast me in anything. It's okay. I forgive you now. And she called and said, Thandie.
What were you doing? I like that.
But this is the miserable thing. Then I didn't hear for 3 weeks. She's like, I think there's something coming, and I think it's going to be in Star Wars. And so I just, I had these ideas of what it would be, and it was completely different to everything I imagined, and I'm so thrilled, but I've signed a non-disclosure and I can't say a word.
Okay.
Which is frustrating, because you know me, I like to chat it up.
No, but did you feel like...
I'd arrived.
Did you? Yeah, okay.
Well, here's the thing. I finished, can I tell you something?
Okay.
The day after Westworld.
Yes.
We wrapped Westworld. Didn't even know if we were going to get another season. But like I said, I felt that I claimed space, that I'd arrived somewhere. And every day that I was on the set, I didn't have to leave my activist at home. I was present, and really everything that I care about, I could voice through this character. So the morning after we had finished, I went and had a little tattoo, a tramp stamp, and had a tattoo in my mother's language, which I've never really felt that I have really, truly found the essence of who I am, which is my mother's tribal origins in Zimbabwe. And I went and had a tattoo, Rusununguko, which is my mother's native language, and it means freedom. I felt free. And it didn't matter, whatever.
What came?
Didn't matter. And then
That's how it comes.
In that psychic space.
That's how it comes.
Hello.
That's how it comes.
The galaxy opened and down came a shooting star. And look, to be part of a legacy like Star Wars, it's loved for a reason. I could have been in it for a brief little nothing, and I would have been thrilled and delighted. To be taken seriously, a woman of color at 44 years old, to be in a dope-ass, franchise. But it is, it's when you just let go.
Yes.
And that would be the advice I would give to myself. You have given me so much incredible advice over the years, so much. But the advice I would give to myself, if I could go back, would be let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Because this tight holding on creates
and desire.
Creates resistance.
Yes.
And the desire.
And resistance creates pain.
Absolutely.
And
that's
fear.
where your suffering comes from.
And fear and suffering. Samsara, the cycle of acquisition. If I have that, I'll be happier. If I have that, I'll be happier. And you know what? Never happy.
Absolutely.
So just letting go. And that's what this meant for me. Freedom, liberation.
But also there's something about, I felt this when we were filming Wrinkle in Time, and I said this to Ava DuVernay and my fellow cast members all the time, sitting in the makeup chair with Reese Witherspoon and Mindy, Kaylin. I would say, this feels to me like something bigger than life, actually. I know it's a film, but it feels like how they must have felt when they were doing The Wizard of Oz. When you're doing something like that is beloved. Wrinkle in Time, not a franchise, but it's a book that people have grown up with for years.
Absolutely. They feel they have ownership of it.
They feel ownership of it, like they feel they have ownership of Star Wars. I think there's something really...
It's part of the fabric of humanity.
And you feel as an actress something profound about that, because you know, as does all film, live on, but there will be generations and generations and generations that explore what you bring to Star Wars and, you know, what we bring to Wrinkle.
It's like you're going through a portal that is beloved, as you were saying, by all of humanity. You know, so there's been confirmation after confirmation after confirmation that this is good and right, and you are part of something good and right. And that's why it's really important that there's diversity in Star Wars as it goes on into the future.
That's right.
Because as we've been saying, I think it's threaded through our entire conversation today with Henrietta Lacks, we are all in this together. We are all, and we need to let go, accept, not be so afraid, fight for the truth if we know it. If we don't know it, ask questions. Until
in every way that
know.
you can.
Yes.
That's what these times and future times call for.
Absolutely.
The best of us.
The best of us.
The best of us.
Yes.